Sup, fighters? Sam Battlefield here. Boom! Back in the mix. Just wanted to tell you all a bit about my competition experience. As you can see on my wall back there, came home with gold and silver. So I am gold intermediate, which is purple belt and blue belt, I believe. Champion. No follow-up questions, please. And also silver in super heavyweight purple belt division. So, I entered two other divisions. One of them just nobody signed up for. Obviously they were scared, which is understandable. Anyway, I'm just bullshitting there, obviously. First division I was in, which was the biggest division, and, you know, the amount of people that signed up, I mean, fuck me, there was like, I don't know, 10, 15, something like that. And out of that, virtually, it was a 9 a.m. start. You know, my first match was at 9:16, or was meant to be. So I got there early, weighed in. You know, obviously I don't need to weigh in, but being absolute and super heavyweight, it's kind of a token tick, tick, tick. But yeah, so got there. As I said, I was in the absolute no-gi intermediate, and I sort of had done a bit of Facebook stalking of the guy that I was meant to fight to start off with, and that was probably I don't know if it was a silly thing to do. I won't do it again, I don't think. Mainly because this guy was tiny. He was tiny. And he was a blue belt. So, like, you know, he could have been fucking competitive as blue belt, but he wasn't. He didn't look like he was fucking jacked or anything like that. He just looked like a family man that was, you know, there was a blue belt on the side, and fairly fresh blue belt from what I could see. He still had, you know, the blue belt, you know, around on his cover photo for his Facebook. So I was like, you know, cool. At least I'll get one. And then there was a couple of others in there that I was like, yeah, sweet, I'm pretty confident with those two. Anyway, a fuck ton of the people who signed up and were registered just didn't show. Like, a heap of them. I was really, really surprised. So they merged us with the brown and black division. But I got put with a bloke probably an inch or an inch and a half taller than me. Solid older gentleman. When I say older, probably like nearing 50s, but like really, really fit looking dude. Solid, like real solid. None of the jiggly parts that I have. And and he was a black belt, and he fucking proceeded to maul me, which was fun. That's kind of the reason why I went to the comp, though. You know, go up against people who are good, you know, reasonably good, at least, and you know, and are at least my size, you know, if not bigger, stronger. Maybe not bigger, but stronger. You know, maybe they have a bit more in the gas tank, all that kind of thing. I still went in pretty loose. You know, I'm obviously having only trained for about a week, and kind of, you know, gently trained in that week because I didn't want to blow myself out. You know, and being sick prior to that with those hectic coughs. I did well enough that I know that I probably did the best that I could in those circumstances. obviously it made me realise that I could have put a fuck ton more effort in a whole host of ways. I think the main thing that sort of got me, there's a couple of things I'm going to be thinking about personally as well. Afterwards, I ended up having a couple of beers and watching the rest of the matches. I was there till about 7 o'clock, so it was a long day. But there's a whole heap of stuff leading up to it that I could have prepared better for. Yeah, but anyway, I went up against a solid black belt who was probably a bit older than me. Who looked probably about 5 to 10 years older than me, but who was fit, strong, and I managed not to tap, which was good. He got my back a couple of times, and he just restricted the movement of this arm, and so I wasn't able to do my usual. I got a sneaky little armbar from when someone's on my back, and it was almost there, but I just, because he was keeping it here, I needed probably about that much more to make it start working, and at his level he's probably got my number on that. So I wouldn't say that I was going to get it, but maybe he saw that I was going for it, and that's why he kept my arm there. Anyway, it's a last ditch, Anyway, I will go into that. It's something that I give up my back fairly easily because I'm pretty confident. I've got a hoodie on at the moment, but I'm pretty confident that I can keep your chokes off my neck. I'm not saying I'm 100% confident, but I haven't. It's been a while since I've been choked, so I tend to let people get my back, which is not a good strategy, obviously. And so I will be working on that, and that comes into something that will happen that will come up in the next couple of matches. So, I got half guard back a couple of times, and I was starting to work that, but every time I sort of worked it, he just sort of really crushed me down, and that was a good experience. He did to me what I do to people. So, good experience. Probably need to train with some bigger guys with some skill. So I'm definitely gonna do that. While I was waiting for my next match, I ended up introducing myself to a couple of people. Well, actually not while I was waiting, but just in general, I met a couple more people from the scene that I'd sort of either interacted with and or were friends with online, just because there was mutual friends and that kind of thing. Like, I knew that they knew about me and I knew about them, that sort of thing. That was cool. Got to see my boy Carlos as well, Carlos Colla, or Bazzano. Carlos is a 5th degree, probably one of the highest ranked in Australia. And one of my good mates, I got to introduce him to Alex, my coach at the gym, or business partner as well. So that was cool. And then we kind of, because there was that connection there, we were sort of cheering for his boy, one of his guys, which was cool. And then in the end, one of his guys, his name was Arden. He ended up versing one of our guys for silver bronze, and he got bronze, and our guy got silver in the end. So, anyway, that's Rahman. He did really well. Well done, Rahman. Well done to Sam Barrett as well, and well done to Theo. Theo's first comp, and it was definitely a roller coaster for him. I'll get to that in a sec. So anyway, next was waiting for my gi, absolute gi. So as I said, no people pulled out of the 230 plus division. No one was in the 230 plus division of no gi. So I didn't get anything for that, which is fine. But the bloke who was in the absolute division, nobody showed up, and nobody showed up to weigh in. Apparently, he showed up like 3 hours later, and they were like, "What are you doing, bro?" But anyway, I didn't see that. That could have been a rumor for no reason. So yeah, so there's where my gold came from. And then I went up against a very competitive purple belt who was in a number of different divisions, and who come up from Sydney. Good bloke named Luke. He's apparently had a ton of MMA fights. I knew he'd had a few, but someone said he'd had a ton. That's all good though. He was quite a bit taller than me, probably 3-4 inches. Strong as hell. It was good. It was a good session. So so it was best of 3, first fight, first match. Took us down, got into like a half guard. Tried to work it, but he was good at staying on top. And then in the last minute, I sort of latched onto a Kimura from underneath, and I almost had it, but he tucked it in probably at about the 25-second mark, and I was still in sort of a half guard, and wrenching it just didn't feel right, knowing that I had a second bout coming up, sort of back to back. Well, wasn't back to back, but there was a match between it. So there was that, and then I just kind of tried to hold on, but not. I didn't really blast out the last one, and then the second match we had, he sort of did kind of what he did to me on the first one, which was wrenched around, but I swung around and sort of caught his leg, and it's something that I give up my back a little bit, because I've been real successful in doing certain things. So in this case, I was kind of hoping to get a hold of the leg, and then as he got that leg over here, shimmy up and over, and then come back over. And as I said, I've had a bit of success with it, but as I was doing it, he just reached in, grabbed the gi, and then reached down and grabbed my leg and bow and arrowed me, and I was like, right, okay, so that is a danger that I haven't really seen before in my current club or roles. So thanks, Luke. You pointed out to me a very clear danger that I just have not seen. Probably due to rolling, less experienced people and people that aren't as big as you. So really appreciate that. That's where I got my silver. And then that was my matches, and ended up coaching the rest of the day. I think part of the thing that I was sort of talking about with that sort of personal side of things is that I ended up I had beers in my esky that I brought food for everyone and all that sort of thing. I felt that was good sort of coach style thing, but I also don't think that anyone else was sitting there, around with beers. And there was a point where I was probably 6 of them in, and keep in mind, like, this is from midday all the way through till 7. So I'd had, you know, like it wasn't like I was getting raucously drunk or anything, but you know, I definitely didn't need it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, people were saying, "Oh, you got the right idea" and shit like that, but you know, nobody else had the idea, and so I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, do I have the right idea? Like, you know, nobody else is doing it. Like, okay, yeah, that makes me a bit of a BJJ rebel, but it also makes me the only guy drinking, and you know, and again, I wasn't raucously drunk, but it definitely loosened my tongue to sort of yell stuff out to my guys, and I'm sort of looking at that going, fuck, what happens if I'm, you know, if I'm not given, because I've got some, even though it's some slight mind altering thing in me, is that even helping my guys, you know? So it made me really think, and so I'm going away for a week and a half. You know, that night ended up getting right on the piss with a couple of the friends of Rahman, one of our guys. Yeah, I mean, they didn't really get on the piss either. There I am with a fucking massive jug of beer, and they're all just like, yeah, I'm having one beer and then going. And I was like, damn, you know, you're the pisshead. So anyway, bit of self-reflection, and I'd say that was a big part of that. Like, I could do better. So, you know, I wanted to stay off the piss, but because I was so sick for so long and it was just affecting my lungs, I ended up having a few beers. Now, I would actually say I did, you know, I was drinking maybe a 6-pack, so like at most 8 in a night, which is amazing for me, except for, you know, it was 3 nights in a row, that kind of thing. And 8 is still quite a lot. 6 is still quite a lot. I don't feel that, so I you know, I've gone and looked for a specialist to help me work on getting that down. Not, yeah. She said eliminated or reduced, and I was like, eliminated. But you know what? 3 best years of my life were done when I was off drink. So, and you know, I woke up the next morning, you know, sore because I'd exerted myself, but then I'd gone and got on the fucking on the beers. You know what I mean? So my body's trying to repair itself, and here I am smashing it with a poison. So yeah, ultimately I want to get off that shit. But that's the story of my first comp as my first Grappling Industries comp. New DVD coming out soon. Absolute Gi Champion. You don't need to ask any more questions. Anyway, Sam Battlefields here. Much love. Peace!